Welcome to Hypnosis Health Info. I'm Roger Moore. Marilyn and I are back here on Salt Spring Island. It's one of our absolute favorite places in the whole wide world. We're staying here at Isabella Point, which is the very south tip of Salt Spring Island, and at the boathouse. And you know, our first trip here to Salt Spring was back in 2004, I guess it was, about 8 years ago, and our first time here at the boathouse was in 2006. So we've been coming here for the last 6 years, and it's just a absolutely marvelous place to get away, and we don't really do much. We have such a beautiful deck here at the boathouse that we spend most of our days sitting there in the deck looking out at this view, and this is where we eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because there's no restaurant that could ever provide anything this wonderful and this private, and the food we eat is amazing. Harold and Sabine, the owners of the property here, have given us just green beans from their garden and lettuce, and we go to the farmer's market and buy nice big heritage tomatoes and live on, you know, lettuce and tomato sandwiches, and sweet corn from the farmer's market, and squashes and other vegetables for our salad. So it's been just absolutely awesome. And of course, one of my favorite things to do here on Salt Spring is ride my bike. And I've had 5 rides now, and a little over 125 miles so far here in the island. And if you've never ridden Salt Spring, it's challenging. There's lots of hills, similar to Bainbridge Island, and roads are pretty rough. In general, if you've never ridden, don't trust the bike lanes. They disappear. They're very rutted. Lots of loose gravel in them. They get real narrow. You just can't depend on them, and often the whole right side of the road is pretty rough, and a lot of rough patches, and like if you're coming down Lee's Hill from Ganges into Fulford through Fulford Valley, you pretty much ride right down the center of the lane, because it's just too rough off to the side, and when you're going 30-40 miles an hour, with the wind gusts and everything else that's going on, it's just best to play it safe and take your space right down the center of the lane. And yesterday I did an amazing bike ride. I headed up from Fulford here and up Bettis Road, and up into Ganges, and then up along the North End Road out of Ganges, and St. Mary's Lake, and clear up to the north tip of the island, and then all the way back down on, I think it's Sunset and Vesuvius, and then back into Ganges, and down through Fulford Valley, down Lee's Hill, and back to Fulford, and that was about 34 miles or so, and it was just an absolutely great bike ride, and one that I've actually wanted to do for years and never have done it, and I may actually do it again tomorrow, because it was that just fun of a bike ride, and very doable. It took a little over 2 hours, so you know, lots of hills, and there are times where you go slow, and particularly up there in the north end, the road's a lot of really rough chip seal, and even where it's flat or slightly downhill, there were times I was only going like 10 or 12 miles an hour, because it was just too rough. There was too much bouncing. But one of the things that I wanted to share with you is how I use self-hypnosis when it comes to bike riding. Now, before I ever get on the bike, I give myself suggestions about riding safely and being safe and returning back to my starting point safely. And I spend a few minutes in, if I know the route, and envision the route, and where the hills are, and where the potholes are, and where the worst parts of the road are, and the best parts of the road, and as I'm riding along, when that little voice creeps up, starting to talk about, you know, this is day 5 and your legs are tired, and you've been riding these hills, and all this is so hard. Instead of listening to that voice, I immediately kick in with, I got this, I can do this. And I hold images and visions, and give myself suggestions about my legs being powerful pistons, and I just hold that image of, you know, pushing over the top with one pedal and pulling up through the bottom with the other pedal, and just that very smooth motion, and give myself suggestions about my arms and neck and shoulder being relaxed, and having the strength and the power and the energy to do this, and putting all my energy into my legs instead of my upper body, and just holding myself with my core. And those are the images and the suggestions that I use even while I'm writing. And of course, you know, I'm using peripheral vision where I see everything. I'm focused on nothing, which is a great waking trance, and it's a great safe way to ride a bike, and it's a way that you can just be at one with the road, one with the bike. You can feel what's going on. And for the most part, you know, you'll find here on Salt Spring Island that drivers are pretty courteous when it comes to cyclists, and most people will get clear over in the other lane. They'll give you lots of space. Every day there's been one, excuse me, been one to two or three drivers that don't really honor the 3-foot rule and get pretty close. But for the most part, people have been very courteous and very safe. And so if you're looking for a great place to ride, you know, come to Salt Spring Island or just come visit. And if you don't know where Salt Spring is, well, here's Victoria, Canada, and here's Sydney, and Salt Spring sits right up here, and Vancouver's off to the east, and it's the Canadian Riviera. It's like 80 degrees right now. It's warm, it's sunny, it's dry. There's just, you know, basically no clouds in the sky. It's just been beautiful, and that's how it's been all week. And of course, right up here on the hill, the deer come through at least once and generally twice a day. In the morning, the buck and one or two of the deer will come through, the young ones, and for feeding. And Harold puts grain out for them at night, and sometimes a bucket of water. And the other night we had 9 deer out there, and they'll come up and eat out of your hand, and they'll come up real close. They'll let you stand right next to them, and while they're eating, and it's kind of funny, they just walk right up to you. And we've seen a few seal this year so far. No whales. That was I think 2 years ago that the whales were here. Yesterday, sitting on the deck of the boathouse, a mink came running up the ramp, and I had seen him a couple days before down at the bottom of the ramp. Well, yesterday I was sitting there reading my book and laying in the sun, and I looked down, and this mink came running up the ramp, and just within inches of my feet, and past my wife's feet, and around the corner, and off the deck and up the hill. And so there's plenty of wildlife. It keeps us entertained and interested in what's going on. So, folks, you know, come visit Salt Spring Island. It's a beautiful place. Eat healthy. Use your self-hypnosis, and be active. You know, we don't do much in this vacation. Lots of laying around, and yet we go for walks. You know, with my wife's back surgery, she's limited in what she can do, but every day we go for walks. Every day I do my bike rides, and then we do lots of resting and just watching and talking and sitting in silence and enjoying. I'm Roger Moore, and this is Hypnosis Health Info.